watching.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember a long time ago, people would be like, "Man, I love the music here," and I was using a software called Pretzel Rocks at the time, and it was free. And we went. Oh yeah, I went here to hit live.
Okay. Cool.
It was free, and you
Mm-hmm.
could play like lo-fi, chilled, electric, hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
all different type of things, and we know music is powerful, man.
Oh yeah.
It's powerful. Like it's one of the I say one of the key components of life as far as like emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I chilled. Okay. I'm listening to the playback on YouTube. The sometimes you be like, okay, my mic might be a little too loud or it's a little bit
Yeah.
too low.
Uh,
It's okay. All right. Well, it's Friday. Weekend is
Friday.
here. How we feeling?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Doing pretty good. Uh, it's been a slow week, but it's been a busy week too, just with work and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
not too much. Uh, got a couple more days, and then we start over.
Oh, you work Saturday?
Yep, we work every Saturday unless we put in PTO or
Okay.
switch our off day.
Yeah. You know what? Of course, with me, it's a little different. I can
Mm-hmm.
choose when I want to be off. I'd say, like I said, I've been personal training for like 13 years, and the vast majority of my career, I've worked on a Saturday, but it was never a full Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would always be like in the morning, Saturday morning. I try to get
Right. Yeah.
off. I try to be out by before 12 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, I'm trying to actually get away from that, meaning not really care much if I work on a Saturday evening
Mm-hmm.
because some Saturdays, I mean, I really don't do anything, man, and it's not like work takes up too much of my time. Like typical training session for me is about 40 minutes, and that's
Okay.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
Now I've expanded it to an hour because I recently raised up what I charge, but to justify that, I give people more time with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole hour training session now. So,
Yeah.
which is still not a lot, out of my day, I feel. So, and I probably shouldn't, but I've been even entertaining the idea of working on Sundays sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, throughout that 13 years, I never worked Sundays. Like I just don't. Um, but this week is a little different. Of course, I went on vacation last Thursday. Me and the family we went to Atlanta and stayed for 5 days. We got back Monday around 4:30,
Mm-hmm.
and I took off Tuesday because I just wasn't about to go straight to work. Not after a vacation. Like,
No, I don't
no,
blame you at all. Heck
I'm
no.
I'm not doing
Can't
it.
do
Not
that.
not not to say I can't, but it just didn't make sense to me because we were tired from from the journey,
Yeah.
and I just we took that. I took that day as a mental health day. We went to the
Mm.
beach and just hung out and all that stuff. But yeah, it was definitely one of those time periods was like, okay, I only work Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we're missing Tuesday and we're missing Mondays. I'm like, okay, well, so go ahead and get some work done on Saturday
Right.
and perhaps Sunday, maybe. That's a maybe, but not a lot of clients like to work out on Sundays. Some, but not all. And I don't really blame them. So
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So,
gotta have a day of rest.
right, you got to.
Telling you, man. Well, we have taken, yeah, one more day would have been 2 weeks since we had done the podcast, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I mean, I felt like we had just did it um recently, talking about the single to you married stuff and the BBL conversation, which
Right.
obviously can be continuated possibly at some point in the future. But before we go any further, bro, I know not you, but like what are your thoughts on like the Barbie craze right now? Cuz I'm going to give you my thoughts and then let me hear your thoughts on that first.
I mean, it was essentially a part of our childhood. Um, I mean, I guess now that they actually came out with a movie, I guess that's the reason everybody's so hyped up about it and excited that they brought a movie out. But it's not for me.
Oh, of
That's all I can
course.
say.
Yeah, I mean, I it's definitely not something that I would go see. Crafty doesn't care for it either. From what I heard, it was kind of cringy, honestly.
Mm, yeah.
It said it was a little cringy. It said it was some subliminal messaging in there, trying to make men look stupid and all.
Mm,
I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
yeah.
All these freaking movies have messages now,
Right.
but the big question I was asking is, do little girls even still play with Barbie dolls anymore? Because
Um,
I don't know, man.
I not that I've seen. Like, I mean, my god niece, she don't play with Barbies, but she's got she likes princess, like Disney princess. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all she's got. But like as far as like actual Barbie dolls, nah. I I'm sure there are kids out there, little girls that still play with Barbies. But as far as what I've seen, I hadn't seen any.
I think that kids are a lot more interested in the phones and
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, Snapchat. Um, Kids just unless you have the type of parents that kind of enforce it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see them doing a lot of what we did growing up. There's
Nah.
not a lot of going outside. There's not a lot of playing with Matchbox and trucks. Our kids do. Like our kids play with trucks and stuffed animals. They do. So,
Yeah.
but they also have devices that we try to limit. Because school's coming back in and we don't really want them engulfed in these devices and stuff because
Right.
it's really harmful because I know it's harmful because it's harmful to us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got I know I got a phone addiction. I'm not even on front. Man, I'm always on my phone, like all the
Yeah.
time, even when I shouldn't be. And to be
Same way.
honest, yeah, I feel like 9 out of 10 people are, and maybe that could be another topic down the line. Like, what is it about? What is it about the phone that has us,
Mm.
in this, I don't want to say this state of hypnosis, but it's an addiction and it's a serious addiction too, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's a
bad.
it's
It's
a
bad.
serious addiction. Um so today, like we're not gonna give y'all too much small talk, of course, because we'll spend 20 minutes talking about life, which is cool. You know, it's okay because we also utilize. I feel we utilize this podcast and this time for us to catch up. You know, with life and stuff like that. You know, it ain't all business. You know, it's a conversation really between me and you, and
Hmm.
giving everybody that's watching right now um an opportunity to chime in. I was actually going to ask you
Hmm.
if you wanted to, because I know you had made mention. I'm gonna let you bring this up too. If you wanted to do this on Twitch, I was gonna ask you
Oh,
that.
I mean, hey, yeah, I'll be down.
Okay, because I like it over here. Doing it on YouTube. But the
Mhm.
thing about it is that both of us we have. That's where our base is. That's where our followers are. Like let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it real. And people tend to not come to other platforms all the time. Like if you're on Twitch, a lot of people don't like to come to Kick, or they don't like to come to YouTube, or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. And I'm grateful for anybody who comes through, obviously. But I thought about it. I was like, man, maybe we should try a broadcast on Twitch one day, because I know you had mentioned your event, right? That's coming. This
Mhm.
is next month.
Yep.
What we got going on next month?
So next month, um, it's our annual charity stream for the JDRF. So we'll be raising funds and awareness for type 1 diabetes research. And I had the bright idea of doing Two Bitty Guys over on Twitch the first night of the charity stream. So it's a week long, but I'm only going to be doing a couple days out of it. So it starts on the 18th and it goes to the 27th. So on the 18th, which is a Friday, I figured D and I would do a special podcast over on Twitch for the charity. And basically, we would talk diabetes. We'd talk about my journey, how I found out that I was diabetic, what I've been doing to take the necessary steps to improving my health, and you know maybe answer any questions that you guys may have. So definitely make sure you're there. 9 p.m. Central Time. I think it's gonna be a great topic.
Yeah, that's. I remember you did a podcast with Ken Got Game and
Hmm.
Queen Vegan, because she also has
Yes.
type 1 diabetes. She's an advocate for the JDRF too, right?
Like I introduced her to the JDRF. I'm not sure if she's done any charity streams with them yet, but
Hmm.
I know she is a part of our group.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I follow her on Instagram.
Hmm.
She's, I don't know. I think she's like, you know how it is. Life,
Life, yeah,
IRL, and I think she's just really. I don't want to say transitioning to a different season of
yeah.
her life, because I think she's about to get married soon. I
Hmm.
know she's a photographer, so she posts a whole lot of different stuff on her Instagram account, and she's not really streaming like that as much. So
Right.
I don't think that she's ever done a charity stream, but I do know that she's an advocate, heavily, because she
Hmm.
does try to educate. That's she's just like you. She posts things to like bring awareness and education to type 1 diabetics, because before I met you, I've always known about diabetes, because I'm in the field of fitness, and we talk often about type 1 and type 2. Hey, what's up, D Sassy?
Hey, D.
I'll be right back, family. Prayer time. Hey, pray for us too, please.
Yes.
I want some prayer. We need some prayer. Man,
We
I will
always need.
take all the prayer I can get.
Hmm.
All of it. Not that anything is wrong, but please, please.
Yes.
The more people praying for you, the better. Yeah. But yeah, I've always known about diabetes, but just you know, the backstory and origins of type 1, because I know you talked about it several times, and
Hmm.
you know, I think that's a great thing to bring awareness and an opportunity for you too, because I know you know, you're doing your thing with the JDRF, and I've always respected it about you, man. Like you took something that a lot of people would consider um, negative or just a form of adversity, and
Hmm.
turned it around into something positive. Um, I mean, was that more so of you just coming to terms like, well, this is just the way that it's going to be, so I might as well make the best of it, or what?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
I've always been that way. I have always been that way. I'm gonna find the good out of something, even if it's bad. So
I like that. I like that. I'm working on that. I am. Like I said, I'm not there yet. Um, it takes a little time for me to process stuff because I I can't hide how I feel when something
mhm.
like if I get news or something happens to me. I don't always react the best until after the fact. And then after I analyze it, after I done reacted however type of way, which I try to
Mhm.
like control. Like I'm not a loose cannon or anything like that. Go punching people in the face, but you know, I might have some words. And I might sit back
Right.
and think about like, man, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
funny.
but all is well over this way. We got two kids here now because my oldest son is on a field trip with our church
Hmm.
called Motion. It's like a conference. Um, he's never been away from us. This is his very first time, so it's kind of hard because we're so used to three being here,
Hmm.
and his brothers are like, when's he coming back? Where is he? How's he doing? You know, and I'm like, he's gonna be okay. He's fine. So he'll be back tomorrow at 9:30
Cool. That's
p.m.
what's up.
9:30 at night. So we've been texting back and forth. I'm trying to not make it overwhelming.
Hmm.
You know, I want him to enjoy himself, but I'm saying, you know, check in from time to time. Let us know how you're doing. Are you okay? And you know, he's 16. He'll be 17 in a few months. So I'm
Hmm.
like, he's approaching that age where we're gonna have to like loosen the grip a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we ain't trying to be like none of these folks out here that's raising 30-year-old kids because they didn't want to let them grow up.
Yeah.
Mm. Man, we all
Right.
know somebody that knows somebody.
I know somebody.
We all know somebody, absolutely. So before we get into the topic today, folks, if you would please give this video a like. If you would, if you're on Twitter, please retweet the links that I put out and that Bearded here put out. We would really appreciate that. And don't be afraid to chat, to comment. But at the same time, we understand it's Friday, and sometimes you just want to sit back and listen, and that's cool too. You know, I do that sometimes. I don't feel like talking, so I just sit back and listen to the conversation. You know, because I feel like today is going to be. I mean, we've had some deep episodes. We have, but I feel like coming off of the last episode that we had, this is more of a serious
Hmm.
topic. I mean, not to say that the single to you married wasn't serious, but
Right.
this is something that's like in the words of Bear, deeply rooted,
Hmm.
and
Agreed.
needs to be talked about. So, and it's a subject that I know I've been wrestling with for a while, and I'm very passionate about it. I talk to other people about it all the time because I got questions. I want to find out what can be done, but I'm only one person, you know, and you're only one person, so it definitely needs to be uh um just a community type of thing for us to come together and figure out solutions to the issues that we're gonna talk about today. What's up, Carlos?
Yo, welcome in, Carlos.
Just let you guys know I'm listening while cooking. Hope okay. Well, don't burn up the food now. Stay on that on the grill or the oven or whatever.
The main question is, what are you cooking, and why did you not invite us?
Yeah, man. I thought we were cool. Yeah, where's the invitation, man? You could have just flew us out there. You know what I'm saying? Had a couple of plates ready for us.
Who needs enemies when you got friends like ours?
Yeah. Carlos SDR. SRD. That is. All right. So today, what we talking about today, bro? Let's lay it on the table.
We are talking about how the black community can heal from our past wound.
I like that word better.
Yeah,
Wound.
wound.
I was a little thrown off, I'd say, from the other word.
Oh,
Like
riff.
rifts. I was like,
Yeah.
man, and like I don't know why I was like struggling with that. I was like, man, what does this mean? So then I thought about it. I'm like, okay. Let's change the wording. So I was like, all right, wounds. That's straight right there. Well, welcome back, D Sassy. We just about to
Just in time.
just in time. And I hope you said some prayers for us too. I don't know if you heard us, but we need prayer. We want to make sure that we don't lose connection. Okay, in Jesus' name, we want to make sure that people hear this message and
Amen.
that it goes deeply into the subconscious of somebody out there that's listening, even if it's one person.
Hmm.
Because I don't care if it's one person watching or 20. You know, y'all all matter. Real talk. Bro, I just tasted some of what I cooked. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It is dance inducing. Oh.
No. What you put in there? What you put in there?
Mm.
All right, so how can the black community heal from its past wounds? So this is one of those topics that I had to just really try to like figure out how, I'm sure you did too, how I wanted to come at it. And there's really no better way to come at this other than just speaking what's on your mind, analyzing history, analyzing just modern day society. And you know, that's pretty much all we have to go on as far as figuring out the origins of, you know, the problems and eventually the solutions.
Right.
So I wanted to open this up with a movie that me and Crafty recently watched, and I mentioned it to you, called They Cloned Tyrone. Okay, so I don't know if any of you here have watched it. It's like I don't want to spoil it, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want to spoil it. But let's just say that that movie is a big part of what's wrong in the black community. Okay. That's the best way I can put it. It's a big part of what's wrong in the black community. Just think of repetition and diversion. Repetition and diversion. I'll use those two words when it comes to that movie, because that's what I see in the black community. I see the repeating of certain things, actions, ways, specific ways. I hear that's just the way it is. That's how I am. We were born into this. The never-ending cycle. You know, grandfather was like this. Pops was like this. Kids was like this. And it's just a never-ending cycle, man. And that movie right there says a whole lot about just how we operate based on external influence. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it without spoiling it, because I want y'all to watch it.
Yeah, I'm planning a movie night tomorrow night.
Yeah, I want you to watch it. D says I haven't watched it yet. Yeah, I heard about it when I was in Atlanta, and I watched it last night. Crafty passed out, but I finished him. I finished the movie. I'm gonna watch it again and take notes because I want to make a video about it.
Hmm.
Because I'm afraid that this is one of those type of movies that's speaking a lot of truth, but that's not gonna get any attention.
Okay.
Because ever
Yeah.
so often they'll throw things out there to put things in your face, and then nobody pays it attention. And it just so happens that the moment they do this, they release the Barbie movie. You know what I'm saying? And so everybody talking about the
Right.
Barbie movie. Nobody's talking about they clone Tyrone.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
talking about that. So I'm like, I'm gonna make it my just a personal goal to like push it so
Hmm.
people can watch it.
Right.
And then you watch it and you let me know, what
Oh,
you think. And D Sassy, same with you.
we definitely gonna talk about
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like again, it's a big part of the repetition that we see in the Black community. And it's a repetition that needs to be broken, and it can't be broken by anyone other than us.
it. Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. So I'll open it up with this. Nobody will care about Black people the way we care about ourselves. This is no offense to any other race, but it's the truth. I see it all the time. People who are advocates of culture, advocates of BLM, but when it's time to be Black and it's time to do Black things and fight for, our rights, I'd say it's just us at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that to shame anybody because I kind of feel like it is our personal responsibility to take
Hmm.
care of ourselves. But sometimes I feel like we're our own worst enemy.
We are.
I hear that we've been hearing that since like the 80s or the 90s, and it's just truth. And it seems like it's a never ending cycle that's continuing, and the only one that can stop it is us.
Right.
It's gonna take some individuals with a voice. It's gonna take some individuals who care, who have a heart for others. It's gonna take some people who were patient, who were educated and informed.
Yep.
Because I'm not trying to make this about race, but you can't not talk about race when it comes
Right.
to
Yep.
our history and why Black people are the way that they are. You cannot omit race from this because it is absolutely about that at the end
Facts.
of the day.
Big facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'll ask you this. What do you think some problems that you can just think of, off the top of your head that plague our community?
I think one of the obvious ones is music.
Yes.
Like I would I would put that probably top. Like I'm not gonna say even music. I'm just gonna say media
Okay.
in general. Because you got your movies that portray us to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You got your music that talk about, living that life. And people want to emulate it. You
Mm-hmm.
got news outlets depicting us to be a certain way, and it might not even be the case. Um, you got social media. You got quote unquote gurus, you know. And then of course, uh, generational stuff. like
Right.
just things handed down. So like intergenerational trauma, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I would just choose my words wisely. It's almost like if you're black, like you're you're born into this world. It's almost like you're damned already the
Hmm.
moment you take your first breath. You feel me? Because you're born
Yeah.
into a world that has already defined who you are, defined what you're about, and has a preconception as to how you're going to turn out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's, and people won't, they just will never admit that, but it's, the way that people act and perceive us speaks for itself. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and she was saying she had saw an experiment to where they took kids and they would take a white person and a black person, like a picture, and they would be like, "Who's the bad person?" And they would point at the black person. "Who's the good person?" They would point at the white person. But they did this with both white and black kids,
Hmm.
and the black kids even pointed to the black person too.
Yeah, it's tough.
So when I say that this is a problem, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
That's an understatement. That this is something that is so deep that it would be unbelievable to some people, to common people. It would be unbelievable to think that there was a huge conspiracy against a particular race.
Mm.
And it's extremely hard to believe that it's not, because we still have some of the same problems that we've had for 30, 20, 30, 40 years. And this is like you said, a lot of it is passed down generational. Um, Grandparents didn't know no better, had a bunch of kids,
Hmm.
um, dysfunctional relationship with the father. Kids see it, that's all they know. Then the kids reproduce and they just keep passing it down, passing it down, passing it down. And in one of our earlier episodes, we talked about generational wealth and things of that nature. And we talked about how those type of habits are not practiced within the black community,
Hmm.
but simply because there's just no common knowledge as to how to do these things. There's no inheritance. There's nothing to give.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So, versus our other other races or whatnot. But yeah, these issues that we have, they date back. So we got to go back in time. Like if we're going to talk about healing, we got to know what we're healing from.
We got to start from the beginning.
You got to start from the beginning. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today, it may make some of y'all feel uncomfortable. But it's not about making you feel uncomfortable. It's about telling you the truth about a particular race of people and what they've been through, and the current results in which you're seeing. And stop listening to the media and what other people tell you. Do your own research, and then you make up in your mind, do you want to believe the truth or not?
Hmm.
That's what this is about. And
Yep.
sometimes the truth is hard for people to accept. It's hard for people to believe, and a lot of people would just kind of like shy away from it because a lot of people don't like to talk about this.
No, not
They
at
don't like to
all.
talk about this. I remember I had a podcast with SB, the one we did, and
Hmm.
we were talking about unfairness of black content creators on Twitch. And there was a streamer in there who was white, and he said he what a fool. He typed in the chat, I can't stick around for this conversation. I can't listen to this. I'm like, dude, you would have been better off just leave. Because you
Right.
just really like told on yourself as far as how you really feel.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, you told on yourself. So when he did that, I was like, I can't mess with you. I can't.
Mm,
So, all you got to do is show me who you are, like one time, and that's it.
yeah.
That's it. So, but I feel like some of the problems, of course, that are in the Black community are, single mother households,
Hmm.
single mother households coming from um I'll just say it, just premarital sexual affairs. A lot of I once heard somebody say that all Black men are good for is just sleeping around, and that's it. That's the only thing we good at.
Papa was
That's
a
what.
rolling stone.
That's just how some individuals view us. Like you have a bunch of kids, you don't take care of your kids, and it's. I'm not saying that other races don't deal with it, but we probably number one. To be
Oh yeah,
honest with you,
yeah.
so I feel like that's a serious problem within our community. Where are the fathers at? Where are they? These are questions, right? How did this happen? Why is it
Yeah.
like this?
And
And
we're like we're always the the brunt of the joke. It's like dad went to go get the milk and hadn't come back.
yeah, yeah, there's stuff like that. Um, that's those are serious issues, and I feel like what can we do to promote marriage, more marriages in the Black community, because more marriages reinforce the idea and the value of family.
Hmm.
The family is the origins of everything. A strong foundation can be carried on for generations. If it's weak, it'll just carry on frail. And, whatever comes of that just comes of that,
Right.
unfortunately. And that's the results in which, we see today.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. Slavery.
Let's talk
Let's
about it.
let's talk about slavery. Like now, folks, we're not gonna take all of these points and take forever on them, but we are gonna go over, from the top to explain the bottom. So
Yeah.
as we got to
For
start
sure.
with, yeah, we got to start with slavery, okay? And I'm so sick and tired of some people saying, "Oh, you weren't your mom or your grandfather wasn't a slave, or you weren't a
Wasn't
slave."
there.
I said, "Hold on
Hmm.
just a second. Yeah, but my grandparents endured some of the results from slavery. So don't sit there and tell us that it's time to get over it, or that was a long time ago. And it's never the people that who ancestors didn't go through. It's always somebody else who doesn't even have a story to tell,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you just believe what was in your history books because your great great grandfather probably wrote the history books. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Right.
So D Sassy says we must what's that? We must learn to
We
break
must
those
learn to break
cycles.
those cycles. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I
But
think breaking cycles are it, it's very important because if you don't break the cycle, it's gonna keep going, and things are definitely gonna keep getting worse. Because I hate to say it, but we as a black community, we like to make things worse than what they seem to be.
we do have to break those cycles. But some people act like they don't want to. You got some of us that do. You got some of them that clearly don't.
Hmm.
Too. So what do you think slavery did, like to the psyche of Black people?
Oh man, it definitely brought PTSD for sure. Um, and like I mentioned earlier, it brought about intergenerational trauma, just because okay, my great grandfather went through it. My great great grandparents went through it. It kind of passed down all the way down to me, type thing. So I'm feeling the trauma of what they felt, and it's bringing anxiety, it's bringing depression, it's bringing all these mental problems within the family tree, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was another one. Where are my notes at? Doggone it! Because I wrote
We
notes
we
down.
got we got notes.
We got
Ain't
notes.
nothing wrong with having some notes. You got to come prepared for something like
Oh yeah,
this.
you have to. Oh, here they are. Uh, One big thing that I think about is the learned helplessness. That's something I didn't think about because back in slavery, it was almost like you could not fight back. Like you couldn't fight back. So resistance against the oppressor was futile. Futile. So you know what's the point of us fighting back? Is I
Well,
guess what it came down to.
well, I can't remember who said this. I don't know if it was Adolf Hitler or somebody else, but you break a person's spirit or you can break them mentally. Do you can have your way. You can do a lot of things. You
Hmm.
can make a person do a lot of things without a lot of resistance. And I feel like when there's lots and lots of men. And that right there, that's another thing right there. Like a lot of people don't understand what they did to the men, over once they brought them over.
Hmm.
There were like a lot of castrations taking place of the men. That was that. And when you have an abundance of people, like, yeah, we got like individual. We've seen movies of slavery, of course, and people having weapons and guns and stuff because you already know like that's the only way you'll be able to control anybody is with a
Hmm.
weapon. But if you let's just say you got like hundreds of them out there, like, do you not think that they had enough manpower to overpower the individuals with weapons? I know there's some sacrifices might have been made.
Hmm.
But I just wonder, like, what stopped them from pursuing them, like, for fighting back? And who's to say that some of them didn't fight back? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I knew some of them jumped off the ship
Hmm.
because they were like, no, like I'd rather die than be a slave.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Man, then you got. I mean, then you also have the Underground Railroad, things like that. So I mean, it wasn't like they were not trying to escape or quote unquote fight back. I think it was like they felt like it was the fear of God, like the owners, the slave drivers with their whips and things like that. Okay, I know if I mess up, I'm gonna get this whip. Or what did they call it back in the day? It wasn't like it was kind of like prison, but it was I can't remember what they called it. It's
Hmm.
gonna kill me.
It'll come back to
But
me.
it was almost like solitary confinement,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So I think the fear of you know getting whipped, getting put in that predicament, getting lynched, anything like that, I think that's what really messed with everyone's psyche and prevented them from forming an alliance together and fighting back. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure the slave to slave owner ratio is pretty
Yes. Yeah.
lopsided.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way. I mean, obviously, some people, like you said, some people gonna have to make sacrifices, which I'm sure nobody would want to do that anyway, because they they want their freedom.
Yeah.
But you know, did they know? I mean, and I asked this question: did they know how to read? Did they know how to write? Did they know how to like formulate a plan to do so, or did they just okay, we're just gonna work, we're gonna earn our freedom, and then we can live to tell our generations down the line what what we went through, so they don't go through the same thing.
I'm gonna read this comment. The assassin says, mentally, I believe enslavement tried to, and in many cases did, destroy our culture and our self-worth. We were kings, queens, scholars, proud people, and lost some of that. I would dare to say we lost a lot of it, D Sassy, if
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
all of it, because um, if you go over to like Africa and whatnot, they have their own, whether it's Nigeria, Uganda, Somalia, Sudan, they all have their own native tongue, but we were forced to speak English. We don't even know like what our origin language is. So we've lost a lot of culture. A lot of it's been erased. And while it's on my mind, I don't know did y'all see the news about Florida? Our
Yeah, yeah.
our
Uh-huh.
governor basically is changing the curriculum of Black history, saying that Black people benefited from slavery. And I'm like, where in the world did you conjure this up? Like,
Right.
gosh, like talk about just bold. Like Black people benefited from slavery. Like I just like I gotta hear this. Like I gotta hear how. I gotta see the evidence
Hmm.
because that's one of the stupidest things I had ever seen. I'm like, you guys are not already teaching it the correct way anyway in school, so now you want to water it down even more.
Right.
Like
Right.
gosh, they got the wrong people in there teaching Black history. First of all, you need a Black person in there teaching Black history. Like it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same. It's just not. Um, Carlos says, gonna say that breaking the cycle comes with acceptance. The acceptance that those coming after you might choose a different path than you, that they might do better than you, and support them. The best, let me see, to the best of your capabilities. I think that, I think our younger generation, a part of me thinks that they're their own people.
Hmm.
Um, but I still don't see the sorority blossoming in them. Like I don't think they fully grasped it yet. I don't know. I feel like our generation, like us, I feel like we're the ones that are awake and that are responsible ultimately for passing it down and teaching, what is it, Gen Z,
Yeah.
teaching
Yeah.
them. Because if we don't, because our older, like the OGs, nah, mm-mm, no, 50
Yeah.
and no,
They
mm-mm,
wasn't having it.
no. Mm-mm. And then the old people, they set in their ways. It is what it is.
Mhm.
You can't teach them nothing. So it's up to us to be able to like educate, Gen Z and make sure that they don't let that rhetoric and just falsifications get passed down to their kids and stuff. So because I do feel like that as Black men or women as well, that we have a responsibility to educate our kids. Because again, just like I said, nobody gonna take care of Black people the way that we take care of ourselves. We have to do that, and a
Mhm.
part of that is education too.
Yes.
Stop sitting on your butt. You feel me? Getting your nails done and your lashes and counting your bands and your chains and stuff like that, and do something that's actually gonna like promote. longevity in the community.
Yeah.
We all got, I don't care what nobody say, every black man and woman has a responsibility. All of us do. Because don't expect society and public school to teach your kids the things that they need to know the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. D says, I believe more of our people fought back than we were led to believe. They want us to believe our ancestors stayed docile. And that, I mean, honestly, that could be the case. But like we've been talking about, they don't put that in the history books. So
No,
we definitely would never know.
no. I don't believe anything in history books. No. I think that it's hard for me to believe everything that's in history books. I just don't. Like, I've learned over time to question everything, especially if something don't make sense. Because they have nothing to gain to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like, nothing to gain to tell you exactly the way it was. There's nothing to gain, but they gotta give you just enough to let you know what went down, because you're gonna find out anyway. So they gotta like give you a little something like, well, yeah, there was a time period where slavery and this, that, and the third, and this happened and that happened, but um, they really don't have anything to gain to like fill in the voids or the empty spaces. Like, there's nothing. They just don't, other than having a bunch of educated black people.
Yeah.
But they don't want that. um. We do have a responsibility. We have to start teaching them. Teaching at home. Yes. Teaching at home. And that's home is what we call it. Home is where the heart is. Mm-hmm. Home is where the heart is. And you'd be surprised at how many parents don't do these things. Like, I talked to a young man yesterday. We had lunch, and he was like, I was telling him some of the things that we do in our home. Mm-hmm. Like, we go to church, and because we go to the same church. And I told him, like, sometimes me and Crafty, we review the message that we heard, and we talk about it and stuff. He was like, dang, like, I never did that before. Like, I never sat down with my wife and talked about the message. And it's just a lot of people just don't do this. Like, we be tired, we go to work and just don't do it.
Yeah.
But this one of those things we can't get lazy with.
Yeah, no. I agree. Carlos says, true, there were lots of small rebellions that were not registered, just considering the amount that were registered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of unwritten history that wasn't shared, but
yeah,
I do think that slavery is the start of what's wrong with black people, because slave labor has been abolished, but I still think that there's some psychological slavery that is still going on to this day.
Yeah.
Because some of us feel like we can only go so far in life, and that we can only do so much, and that we can only have so much based on history. My mama didn't have this. My daddy didn't have this. My grandparents didn't have this. And I've heard people say, my mama, my daddy wasn't ish. I ain't gonna be ish. I'm like, wow.
Like, talk about yourself up for failure,
right, man. Like, yeah. Like, I've heard that. Like, oh no. Why? That's why I was like, some of us we're not gonna get through to, but like I said, there are some that we can. Hopefully, if you gotta be willing, folks, you gotta be open-minded. Like, seriously. Sassy says, I've learned so much of our history on TikTok. Really? You can send me some of those videos. Right? I'm not a big TikToker. I make content. I don't watch a lot, but I'd be interested in seeing. I want to see what it is you're talking about.
Yeah.
I would like to know.
See, Carlos says, thankfully, in the DR, the history is not being hidden as much of in the USA.
So you guys know probably more about our history than we
Then,
do.
then we do.
I think a lot. I think that's. I think every country does.
Mm-hmm.
I think every country knows the history of the real history of America. They know. They
That's
know.
sad.
Um. So slavery origins, folks. Um. Number two. So let's dive into to Jim Crow. We got to talk about Jim Crow.
Man.
Man, look. So slavery's over. You know,
It's over.
black people think, okay, we're free, and we get to go out, and all we want to do is live a life, and take care of our families, just like everybody else. I'm sorry, I didn't know that was like a crime. I didn't know that was wrong. I thought that from just humanity, that was okay. So now we have another problem, that being Jim Crow. Now, I, nor you or anybody here, have lived in that time period, but we still are feeling the effects of what happened, during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So, from your perspective, from what you know about Jim Crow, like how do you think that let's first of all, let's not think about now, let's think about then. Let's put ourselves in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was going through the minds of both white people and black people around that time period? Like, now I don't want to ask you a double question, but I'll take one and you take the other. I'll take what was going through the mind of white people, and I'm gonna give you the what was going through the mind of black people.
Okay.
I feel like, look, I just personally feel like what was going through the minds of white people was fear. Fear. The fear of losing control. The fear of something being taken away from them. The fear of retaliation, perhaps. Just fear. Just fear based. Some people don't believe in white supremacy. I do. Yeah, I'm just not gonna change my mind on that, honestly. But I just personally just feel like it was out of fear,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't believe that the slaves were like, they just wanted to be free. I mean, I can't speak for all of them. Maybe some of them wanted vengeance. Maybe they did. But for the most part, I don't think that they were like, we're gonna kill y'all for what y'all did to us. Like, no, I think they just wanted to take care of their families and raise their kids and work honestly and give to future generations, like we always talk about. That's just me. And I don't know, man. Like, I feel like you got to be just vile at heart to just dehumanize individuals just for the sake of fear and them wanting to just live a normal life. So, what do you think went to the mind of black people during that time?
um, Same thing you just said, fear. Um, I would say just the fear of just being, I don't want to call it crucified, but persecuted for the color of their skin. Um, because I mean, anything could have happened.
Right.
Um, but I also think what was going through their minds was wanting to be equal, wanting to be included. I mean, obviously in the Jim Crow era, there was segregation, so they I'm sure they wanted to be included with the whites. You know, now I'm gonna throw this question back to you. Do you
Hmm.
think segregation was a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, okay. But like before I answer that question, I'm just gonna kind of um piggyback off of that last part of what you just said. Like black people just wanted to be a part of, the white people and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, is that really what they wanted? Why would you want to be, around your oppressors? Why would you want to mingle with the individuals that put your folks in chains and that beat you and did all of the most evil things and you could think of, pretty much. But
Yeah.
do I think segregation is bad, good or bad? I think that if we're looking at this from everything we're taught, and D Sassy, please, feel free to chime in with this question. If we're looking at it from that perspective, then we're automatically gonna say, yeah, that it is bad, or whatever the
Hmm.
case may be. But if we look at every race in the world, right? Asian people, Indian people, um, Hispanics, stuff like that. It seems like they live in a segregated mentality. They have a segregated mentality, which means that they support their own, they work for their own, they employ their own. They don't do business with nobody outside of their own, right? And because they to this day, I feel like they still practice a form of segregation. You go to the
Oh.
Japanese, huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They go to these Japanese restaurants. It's only them working in there. You know what I'm saying? Or the nail salons. It's only them working in there. Asian people working in there. They don't want nobody else
Hmm.
around them. They don't want nobody else coming into their business. That's just them. So, and when you look at them, they thriving.
Big time.
They thriving. Asian people are thriving. They got and they ain't flaunting it either. They
Hmm.
ain't flaunting it. You wouldn't know it. They ain't flaunting it. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
They got like massage parlors. They got nail shops. They got hair stores, restaurants. They massage places. They doing it big. And then same with Indians. They got convenience stores. They got gas stations. They got jewelry stores,
Hotels.
hotels. You feel me?
Yep.
And the list just goes on and on and on.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, black people who want to be a part of everything, want to be over here, want to be over there, and doing everything except for like coming together, because we can't do that.
Hmm.
Apparently, we're the
Hmm.
only group of people that can't do that. And you gotta wonder why we ain't got nothing.
Right.
So
So,
to answer your question, no, I don't think that segregation was a bad thing. Because if we had practiced it, maybe we would have had something handed down
hmm
to the future, to their kids and the future generations. Maybe something would have been passed
well,
down.
what we've been talking about, generational wealth.
Yeah. So and that comes from focusing on your people. I don't think it's racist, but focusing on your people, focusing on making sure that you're good, they're good, and then just passing it down because that's what Asian people do. That's what Indian people do. That's what Hispanic people do. They doing it. But why is it a problem when it comes to us? Oh, it's terrible. It's bad. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. So while we're sitting here talking about segregation, you mentioned all these different things. There's one other place that is always segregated.
Mm. Church.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Now, not to say it's not fully segregated, but the most of it. So I'm gonna just give you my perspective. Okay. My parents both went to black churches. When I was born, we ended up going to an all white church. Right.
Okay.
Now it was my family and maybe 3 other black families in that church.
Okay.
But there was also across town there was a all black church. There was a couple of all black churches actually around my hometown. So yeah, I mean, there's segregation everywhere. So it's like in let's just say in the mentality back then that they wanted to feel included with the whites. Why is it not that way now in the church?
I mean, I'll say this. So, I mean, if we're being honest, people feel more comfortable around
Yep.
other people that they look like.
Yep. All
That's just there's no, and that's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I don't feel like it's wrong. Like if you want to go to a church that's got multiple races and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, go ahead. That's the type of church we go to.
Yeah.
You know, some of everybody there. I really do feel like it's predominantly white. There are black people there. But a lot of black people tend to want to go to black churches. I'm gonna tell you why. Was it you? No, it was somebody else I was talking to about this. You have to preach to black people differently than you do
Yeah.
white people. And white people, like pastors and stuff, there's some things they're not touching.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're not touching some things. They're just not. And some of those things are things that need to be touched, that need to be heard, that
Yeah.
black people need to hear, that you would hear in a black church.
Yeah.
You know, black pastors have been known to be more hardcore, you know, more animated and
Mm-hmm.
but still giving the word and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
know. I remember hearing it firsthand. People say that Sunday is the most segregated day of the week.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, would anybody disagree, you know, with the statement that people feel more comfortable when they're around people that look like them? If you're black and you go to an all-white church, how are you gonna feel? Like they don't, and I'm not saying they even have to come at you weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how are you gonna feel? Like these people don't know. They don't know anything about my culture. These people can't relate to me in any type of way. They probably have not grown up the way that I've grown up.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all these things going through your mind. You know what I'm saying? Versus going to like a church where everyone looks alike. So we at least got that going for us. And we can relate to each other to a specific degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we may not have all grew up in the hood. Some of us may have had both mom and dad in the house. Some of us may not. You know, whatever the case may be. But that, I guess that's another example. Like, is segregation bad? Like the term segregation was taught to us as being something that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if it's so bad, why is it still being practiced?
Yeah.
Why? Like if you like some of these churches have established themselves as being like, he's not gonna say all white or all black. It's just what it is. That's the way it's been for decades upon decades. So if you're so against it, why aren't they doing anything to like change it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, that's my take on it. Carlos says the thing with those shops is they run it by family. Most of the workers are related in some way. Not that it's no, that's not that's the whole point, Carlos. They're keeping it in the family because it's their family business. They want to pass that down to their kids and their kids' kids. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. You and you have to keep that out of from other people.
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Biblically. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna read D Sassy's comment.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
She said, "As they say, hindsight is 20/20. I think if we could go back to segregation, we would." Dr. MLK Jr., before he was killed, said that he feared that he integrated his people into a burning house.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Now that's the message you're not gonna hear.
That is not the one you.
That's not the one you're gonna hear. I had a dream and we would all come together. You know, that's all you hear when you hear him talk. But you don't hear that. So that's a good.
That's a very solid point. Like very, very solid.
You know, maybe he had good intentions. Maybe he thought. But then after, analyzation and seeing how things actually are. Yeah.
And then also on that, we were talking about Jim Crow and chat. I don't know if y'all have heard, they're actually trying to pass that law back in Mississippi.
Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna have to look it up, y'all. Because I'm pretty sure they were trying to pass it back in Mississippi. But it was gonna be like a 2.0 type Jim Crow law. Let me see if I can find it. Because they've been talking about this since February. Trying to think, because so our capital, where I live, the majority of population right now is black. I think it's like 85% black population right now. And then of course, Jackson is one of the top 10, if not top 5 cities with the most homicides as well. Obviously, by the black community. But yeah, they've been talking about this since February, but nothing's been passed yet from what I could tell.
That's probably not gonna fly, but the fact that somebody out there insinuated it says a lot. Now, I wrote this down. Just took a couple of notes. Just Jim Crow in a nutshell. These were laws that were completely like in contradiction to a black person living a civil life, basically. These laws determined where black people could work. There were certain places you could, there were certain places you couldn't. Mm-hmm. They determined when they could work. Mm-hmm. So where you can work, when you can work, and to add insult to injury, determine the compensation as far as how much the black person could work as well.
Mm.
So it didn't have absolutely nothing to do with your level of education or expertise or experience. It was, if you black, this is what it is for the most part. Took your rights to vote.
Yep.
They controlled your living situation, meaning you didn't get to choose where you wanted to stay. You know, you had to, under this law, they chose. Oh, you
Yep.
can't stay over there. You gotta stay over here. You gotta stay over here. You gotta stay over there. Which I think how we have today's, as we call it, the ghetto or the hood or Section A. We have every city has this, and you know it. Every
Mhm.
single city has the hood, you know. Um, but one of the most disturbing things that I didn't know about Jim Crow is that they could take your kids for labor purposes.
Hmm.
Like that was one of them. Like if you go back and look this stuff up, man, whew, it's a lot. It's a whole lot. Like
Wow.
our people been literally went through hell on earth
Yeah.
only for us to act a fool today. And I think that maybe that's the problem right there. I think a lot of today's generation, they don't know their history.
Yeah.
They don't know their history because it's not being taught in school. Um, their favorite celebrities and rappers, they ain't talking about it. No one's talking about it. I feel like if they knew, maybe they would do better
Yeah.
if they
I
knew.
would. Yeah. I mean, I would say at least one person, at least one rapper that I know that talks about it is Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
some of his latest albums, he definitely talks about it. Um, so but yeah, for the majority of people, oh no. You know, it's crazy. So, when the whole uh George Floyd, Walter Scott, all the Black Lives Matter, social injustice stuff was going on. Then you got rappers coming out making songs about it. And it's like,
Mm.
why are you not making songs about this before? You know? It just baffles me that it would do something like they would wait until like something tragic happens to our people to start talking about it and start joining the rallies and things like that. Now, do I necessarily agree with the Black Lives Matter movement? Yeah,
Oh
but
man.
but I
Look.
mean, it took y'all that long to start talking about this stuff after multiple instances of stuff like this.
Well, first of all, that the idea of it is not you know what it sounds like. It
Mm-hmm.
says Black Lives Matter, and this isn't about BLM. We could talk about that some other
Right.
time. You
Right.
know, because it's not what people think. Like
Yeah.
I said, the origin of it was, to like bring awareness to police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, which honestly is the least of black people's worries.
Right.
It ain't got nothing to do with what's going on in the hood. It's got nothing to do with the history. I think it's a disingenuous movement, honestly. Um, Carlo, well, did you read these Sassy's comment? Oh yeah,
I
you
did
did.
read. Yeah.
Carlos says, I really don't get why the USA didn't embrace its multicultural background long ago. Not like here, there aren't any problems, but the USA, it's way too extreme.
Hmm.
Because the country is ran by a bunch of selfish people, Carlos. That's why. Like it's one of those
That's right.
subjects where, yeah, I'd say it's one of those subjects where you don't necessarily have to do something wrong for somebody to not like you,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
All I know is that the people that powers that be don't like it, don't want it, and I don't think it'll ever be taught properly, the history, because it's too deep right now. It's gone too far.
Right. Yeah. 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 Let's see. What's going on, Mark? How you doing, man? Um, Mark says it would basically make a special district where the government would appoint officials instead of allowing them to be elected. Are we talking about the new Jim Crow law that they were trying to pass? Now, I just read something where they rejected it, but was this like last month? I saw it was posted something like that. I'm gonna have to go back and read it, but I saw something where it was rejected, but nobody really heard about it
I sure didn't know.
because I think the only way we would have known about it is if it got passed. But
Right. So, um, moving on from Jim Crow. The what is it? The crack epidemic. Okay. Which started was it the 70s? I believe.
70s, close to the early
Oh,
80s.
not the
Yeah,
60s, but the
yeah,
70s.
yeah.
Um, Now this is the part where a lot of people might be like, "Oh, I don't know about that," but look,
We talking about it.
go watch they
Snowfall.
clone, go watch
Yeah.
that. Um, when you think a drug dealer in the movie, who you think about? You know, uh, Timmy or Tyrone? Which one? Who you think about?
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's the truth. So again, I wasn't born in the 70s, but I do my research, of course, that there's a belief that drugs were planted in black communities, low income communities,
Hmm.
from CIA agents.
Oh wow.
This was conducted as a um what do you call it?
Experiment.
Systemic. What's the word? Let me see.
Systematic something.
Systematic. Well, you could say systematic racism, but it's it makes complete sense because most drug dealers, and when people go looking for weed or they go looking for coke or whatever, crack, where do they go? They go to the hood.
To the hood.
That's where it is. It's not in the hills. Well, it's not, in upstanding neighborhoods. It's always in the hood around black folks. Like that's where it is. It's not around Asian people. It's not around Hispanics. It's always around us. And it's like, gosh, like, why? How did this happen? So you mean to tell me black people who don't own nothing, by the way, who really don't have anything, can just make this happen on their own? Like bring drugs to their neighborhoods. Like where? How?
And then get paid for it.
How? Like where is this coming from? Like where are you guys getting this stuff from?
They getting it shipped across the water, man.
I mean,
Kevin Gates said it best. He know all about it.
yeah. So I think that's another thing right there. This, like I said, go watch they clone Tyrone. You'll see what I mean about having a cycle of activity in particular demographic areas. Keeping a cycle going, keeping it going. Where? In the black community. Why? To keep them locked up. Why? To keep them killing each other. Why? because they'll keep stumbling over each other. They won't ever make it because we're gonna keep that occupied. Dude,
Mhm.
the crack epidemic was in the 70s. It's 2023 and it still hasn't changed. We still got dope boys, making songs about it. The trap house. It's almost like that we didn't accepted it. Like this hood, we got that for the low, like, and I guess it's like these individuals feel like that's all they can do. Can't get a job. Some of them don't want a job because they're getting paid more money selling dope than they would at McDonald's.
Man, you just that's the part that really aggravates the crap out of me. Is because these drug dealers are doing illegal stuff and they making more money than than a person that's actually working. Like that is outright ridiculous.
That's
How?
that's why they don't. That's why it's not stopping. That's why it's not stopping. Like they will make more money than somebody with a degree,
That is
a freaking doctor. Why would they stop?
makes no sense,
We
man.
know it's against the law. We know it's wrong, but when you feel like the system is against you, and you know that you're not gonna be able to like get a job that's gonna pay you like this is gonna pay you, why would they stop? Because most of them uneducated,
Yep.
you know, have no direction in life. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to advocate bad choices, bad
Right.
behavior, criminal activity. I ain't no. Mm-mm. But the reality is still, it's drug dealers out here that's making way more money than either of us, or probably anybody here, flaunting all them $100 bills and
Just
yes, yeah, you know,
uh, man, it's unreal. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I've been around it. I've seen it go down.
hmm me too,
Like
me too.
like dudes selling dime bags for like $20 and just making a lick off of it. And I'm like, how? Like, it's definitely a supply and demand.
Yeah,
If there's one thing that these drug dealers know, they know about economy, about economics, because it it's crazy, man. It's I don't know.
it's the supply part that gets me. Like I've seen like movies. Like I said, I feel like movies tell a story. I feel like movies tell us this is what it is.
Hmm.
But a lot of individuals be too entertained. Like we've seen those times where it would be somebody black, and it's always somebody black, and they never nobody white. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, getting profiled by a police officer, and then they don't have anything on them, and the police officer might plant some weed on them
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Hmm.
right there. That's telling you all you need to hear, telling you all you need to know. Um, I think it was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Remember,
Mm. Oh
remember
yeah, yep,
Officer Tenpenny.
yep.
He had to, they had to take the drugs and stuff. It was a crooked cop, man.
Hmm.
You take the drugs off of CJ. What y'all about to do with the drugs, man? Like, so yeah. Um, I really do believe crap was that Crafty says, and most of them are young people. Yeah, yeah. I mean, most of them are young people. I mean, there's probably some older cats out there too, but
You got them old heads that
yeah,
still know
they're
how to do
still
it.
in the game. But
They know exactly how to flip them.
all of these things are within the community, and they're causing problems. You know, it's keeping fathers out of the household.
Hmm.
It's keeping us from being able to like have any real wealth. It's keeping us from being able to pass anything down, to future generations, these things, that are plaguing the black community. And this ain't to say that white people don't do drugs or Asian people don't do drugs or nothing like that, but um, like I said, drug dealer, the face of it is black people. That's what you think about.
Yeah.
It is. One more thing. So we talked about slavery, talked about Jim Crow, we talked about drugs and the crack epidemic. Um, all of these things being passed down to, our people. Mind control. Mind control. Now, this goes back to what you said earlier in the podcast about the music choice that we choose to listen to. Well, me and you both believers, so this ain't no problem. If you go back to the Bible, Lucifer was in charge of like basically the music part, the music, in heaven and stuff like that. So music is one of his, I want to say probably one of his greatest weapons.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of his greatest weapons. And, we know how music makes us feel. Music makes us, some music inspires us, some music motivates us, some of it makes us feel great. And then there's some music that makes us want to fight. Makes us want to tear somebody's head off. Makes us want to go rob somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like 3 6 Mafia. We're gonna rumble and he's gonna rob you. You know what I'm saying? Like I listened to all of that stuff when I was a kid. I ain't never robbed nobody, but still, because I didn't grow up like that.
Amazing.
I was more so that kid that had no business listening to it, that had to sneak it. That was me.
Yep.
Like I didn't live with people that listened to that. I had to like go lie somewhere to get it because my friends was listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't influential on me, but I could see it being influential on people growing up in those conditions.
Yeah.
Feeling like this is all I got to do to make it. And I feel like the music definitely is something that plays a big role on the psyche of black people. Mm-hmm. All people, but particularly black people, because they say it's rap music, it's our music, and that's what we produce, etc. So, I mean, what you think about? Do you think that it plays that big of a role, like music, or?
I think it does. Will I say to most people? To most blacks, I would say it's probably a 60-40. 60 yes, 40 no.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we both grew up in the church, but we also listen to that type of stuff either. But you didn't see us robbing a bank or flipping bricks or whatever else we talk about, we rap about. I'll be honest with you, I still listen to some of that stuff, but because that was our era. That's when music was actually good.
Yeah.
And you don't hear that hubbada.
I got the stacks on the stacks on. I'm like, what? What are you talking about, man? Like, I'm like, you know what I mean, too. They got that. They got this weird voice. This is like, it sounds like they're crying and rapping at the same time. I'm like, this is trash, man. It's garbage, man.
But yeah, no, I believe music is one of the biggest. Like I said, music followed by social media.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Those two right there are the big ones.
Yeah. So we got a lot of that stuff right there that's that has us where we are today. So we have covered at least what we feel are the origins that have black people in the position that they're in today. Now, there are some successful black folks.
Mm-hmm.
I know some lawyers. I know some doctors. I know some videographers. Just some people doing pretty good for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know I hate to say this, but I know more of us that are not doing so well. And that are, that just feel stuck, I'd say. So now that we have covered the origins and the reasoning behind why we are the way that we are, the question can be asked again: what can we do to heal, for the black community to heal from our past wounds? What can we do?
Well, I know both of us are gonna agree on it when I say it, but I'm not gonna say it yet.
Okay.
I think one thing, and we've been talking about it throughout the whole entire podcast. Chad has been saying it. We gotta educate ourselves.
Yes.
That's not the number one, but I mean it's definitely number two. We have to educate ourselves on our origins in order to heal from those past wounds, because you know it it's kind of like, and I'm gonna give this analogy, and if anybody in the chat is Catholic, no offense when I say all this, but with Catholicism, they have infant baptisms because they believe that the infant inherits the sins of the parents. Almost like, okay, we as a black community inherit the trials and tribulations from our ancestors. But obviously in the Bible, in Ezekiel 18:20, I believe, or 2018, I think it's 18:20, we're not responsible for the sins of our father and mother.
Right.
So that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. It's like, we're not, like, what happened in the past is really not our fault, but we still have to educate ourselves to know, okay, this is what happened to my ancestors. This is what happened to possibly my grandparents, my parents.
Right.
What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And move on.
Yeah.
And educate someone else.
Right.
But like I said, the number one thing that you and I are both going to agree on, and I'm gonna let you answer it, is
Christ.
facts.
This
We
is
all need it.
this is one of those things where everybody, you said that first, the second thing is educate. That's true. But unfortunately, some of these people, you just can't get through to them. You can't. Like, you as a person, you cannot get through to them like this, especially this younger generation. Like, most of the crimes that are being committed, like here, probably there too, are from kids.
Mm-hmm.
When we were visiting you, when we were at that mall, it was teenagers out there shooting.
Yep.
It was teenagers. They don't want to hear what we got to say. They ain't got no problem with shooting somebody that's older than them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them just, I hate to say it, but some of them are too far gone for us to do anything. And I'm not saying, hey, let's just wash our hands of them. I'm not saying let's not try to educate. I'm not saying let them just be damned or anything like that. But at the same time, this is something that needs to be addressed to the individualized, not as a whole. Because some people may get angry with me when I say this. I just don't think black people as a whole are going to get it.
Yeah.
No. Some of them are just stuck in their ways. In the Bible, Jesus said, straight is the way, narrow is the gate to eternal life, and few will be there. But the pathway to destruction is wide, and many will go there. Many, which means clearly there's going to be more people in heaven than it is in hell. I ain't just talking about black people. I'm talking about people in general. People who decide that they want to dwell in sin.
Yeah.
It's a sin problem. It's a sin problem. We can call it a generational issue. We can say whatever we want, but at the end of the day, it's a sin problem. And only God can fix that. That's it. So I feel like along with educating our younger generation, because you always got to look to the youth, because society is already trying to program the youth to believe what they want them to believe, to accept what they want them to accept. They're already trying to go after them. Well, we need to do the same thing.
That part.
We need to go for them. Like, I'm sorry, like our generation, the older cats, look, do what you want. But the kids, they're the target.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the ones that we need to be preaching to. They're the ones we need to be teaching. They're the ones we need to be pouring into. Because everybody's like, well, we got to do better. I'm like, yeah, we do got to do better. But the kids, while a lot of them are not set in their ways, while they haven't been exposed to a lot of things and whatnot, we have an opportunity to teach them history and give them the gospel. Because like I said, it's only God that's going to be able to handle this, to take care of this. It's not, it's too deep.
Yeah.
It's too deep for men to fight. You know?
Yeah.
The black community can heal.
Mm-hmm.
It can, but you got to want it.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
You gotta want it. Some people, you can't tell them anything. You can't preach to them. You can't tell them anything. But there are some that do want to listen. There's some blacks, young men, young girls who dream to be out of the hood.
Yeah.
Who want to go to school, who want to go to college. Like one of my clients, young black lady, got some great standards. She believes in God. She told me today that my 10-year-old came to me and said she wanted to be baptized. I'm like, hallelujah.
Right.
That's that delicate age right there. Like it has to be when they're young to teach them that, because, indoctrination, people, they like to talk against people who believe in God and say that we've been indoctrinated and all. I'm like, well, everyone's been indoctrinated with something.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, like society is indoctrinating you to think a specific way, to believe a certain thing, to go about life a certain way. It ain't just church. It ain't just Christians. It's the whole freaking world that's indoctrinating individuals. Like we got right now, they're trying to teach our kids that it's okay to not be the gender that you are. And I'm like, okay, look, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough is enough. Like that's the direction they're going. Which is why all the more, like D Sassy said, we got it start at home.
Yep.
Take care of your house. Take care of your household.
Yep. Let's see. D Sassy says, I think we have to first acknowledge that we are hurting, start getting mental health support, read, and make different choices day by day. That what you just said, D, is actually, what is it? The first thing in Alcoholics Anonymous, that you have to admit that you're alcoholic, that you have a problem. So we as a black community have to acknowledge that we are hurting from the past. And we have to educate ourselves and definitely get mental health support because like I was talking earlier with the intergenerational trauma, it causes anxiety, it causes depression, it causes low self-esteem. So you have to get that support somewhere in order to heal.
Yeah. I agree with all of those points, D Sassy. But you know that. We know that. But if we look at our history, these are things that are not practiced in the black household. Therapy. I we don't black folks just don't talk about that type of stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Reading, a lot of black people don't like to read. They don't like to talk about their problems. They don't want to open up.
Yeah.
But the things that the community or black households or families that are not practicing are the things that are holding them back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's pride or if it's or whatever the case may be. But you're right. We have to acknowledge that we got a problem. We got to acknowledge that we're hurting. And I will say, like I said, I don't watch a lot of TikTok, but I do watch a lot of reels on Instagram and YouTube and stuff. And there are some black people that are acknowledging more mental health issues. There are some that are acknowledging that they're hurting. There are some that are acknowledging trauma. We've been hearing that word a lot, trauma.
Yeah.
We've been
Yeah.
hearing that a lot. So it's happening, but maybe not on like a big standpoint. But
Yeah.
it is occurring. And the thing about it is that when you want something to be practiced or you want something to be accepted, you got to become an advocate for it.
Hmm.
You have to keep talking about it until people are sick of hearing it. Like we can sit up here and talk about this tonight and not ever mention it again.
Right.
And then we're like, well, nothing's changing. Like, well, did you double down? Did you stay on it? Are you still talking about it? And it's gonna take not just us, it's gonna take a lot of us.
Yeah.
A lot of us to double down and to keep talking about it. If
Hmm.
it's that important, if it means that much, then it needs to be received, and the only way it can be received is if it's repeated over
Yep.
and over and over and over and over.
Repetition.
Or
Repetition.
you'll just or we will continue to see what we'll see. We'll continue to get the results at which we've always gotten, because this ain't nobody else's problem but ours.
Hmm.
Nobody else has this problem but us. It really shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a problem for us to keep talking about this.
Right.
It shouldn't. And it's not like I'll just say it, and I've heard several people say it. We're not looking for white people to do nothing. We're not looking for Asian people to do nothing. We don't need them to do anything. Why do we need them to do something when they don't need us to do anything for them? They could do just fine by themselves. And so can we if we come together.
Hmm.
We're fully capable. Some of the most talented individuals on the planet. We can do that. But again, it's going to take repetition. It's going to take being an activist. It's going to take spreading the word and enthusiasm. And if it's that important, like if we're truly fighting for the future generation, then this shouldn't be a hard decision.
Right.
It really shouldn't. Now, I'm not the type of person that's like I ain't super pro black to the point that I don't want to talk to nobody else but black people. That's just not realistic.
Right.
But I can favor black people. Now, some people may be like, oh, it's racist. That's not the definition of racism. I'm not prejudiced.
Yeah.
I don't hate anybody. But I do love black people. Just like Asians love each other. They watch each other back. White people they love each other, they watch each other back. And the list goes on. Why is it wrong for us to do the same thing? Or why does it have to sound weird if you say I'm pro-black? Like, being pro-black doesn't mean I'm anti-white or anti-anybody else.
Yeah.
I just care about my people more. Don't mean I don't care about anybody else. I just care about my people more.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Agreed.
and without saying it, that's what other races do too, because that's why they're thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. Mark says with church and education, you need to tie it together with community building. Kids uh, need need to be in a place to feel safe so they can grow. Yes, yes, I definitely agree with that. And like he just said, I mean, it starts with us. It starts with the community. You know, we start building our own community, and we can teach the kids about the things that we've seen, so they'll know what to look for. So they'll know, okay, if this happens, okay, yeah, I remember. Dad taught me that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's a very solid point, Mark. Very solid.
Carlos says, yep, the key to solving the problem is first acknowledging it exists. Yep, exactly. D Sassy says, definitely social media is helping bridging the gap more and more. It's slow, but it's slow progress is better than no progress.
Yep. I mean, think about the fable, the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah,
Who won the race?
right. Also, I think we have to start with our circle because I kept talking about it and I sought help. My best friend is now in therapy. Yeah, start small. And I think that's what we do already. Like me, you, Bear, Flash. It's us. And then there's I'm sure there's people that we talk to too. Outside of our circle.
Hmm.
But I look, all of us got a platform. You got a platform. I got a platform. We all got a platform. Whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people, a platform is a platform.
Right.
And if you're affecting one person, then that's major. That's big.
Hmm.
You know. Uh, wow. Also true. That's true. We are so powerful. We need to we do need to rebuild us. There needs to be some reconstruction. There needs to be some mental reconstruction. There needs to be some spiritual reconstruction. It's just we just the reason I love us so much is because I hurt for us. I feel like we know we didn't deserve this. We didn't deserve this. And there's nothing we can do to change the past. I'm not asking for the past to be changed. Nobody can do that, but we don't have to sit in that. We don't have to accept it. We can do something about it.
Yeah. Yep. Carlos says, "Let me tell you this from my family history. My grandfather on my mom's side was the eldest of 10 kids. His dad passed away on his young adult years. He took it into himself to help his mom rise, raise the other nine while he worked away in another province. He could have cared about himself alone." Hmm.
You always got some of the most interesting stories, Carlos. But if it's one thing about you, you have a very strong family history of being there for each other. And passing things down and work ethic and things of that nature, which
Yep.
is something that a lot of the black community lacks. You know, but I'm not making excuses. Um, I feel like if you're aware of something, it's your duty to make others aware of it.
Yeah.
Because some black people, they're not. They're just not there.
Hmm.
They're still asleep or distracted. So deep in despair that they just not there.
Yeah.
You know. I talked to a guy a while back because it was so many shootings happening around here. I was like, man, like, what can we do? to stop this. And he was like, we gotta, he's like going these hoods. I'm like, I don't know about going in the hoods. I mean, where can we start? I don't think going in the battle zone is a good place to start. You don't want to put yourself in danger, but you also want to be effective. And another guy I know, he just straight up calls them demons. He's like them demons. I was like, dang.
Man, that's tough.
A lot of them are, man. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But not all of them. Not everybody. Everyone's not bad. So I'm fighting for the ones that have that want hope, that want it, that want to listen, that will take what you say and apply it. So a lot of these young boys, I'll get to the girls, but a lot of the young boys, they need father figures. They need mentors. They need to see what structure looks like. They need to be able to, they need to have somewhere to learn from. Because if you can give that to them, or they're going to get it one way or another, from the streets.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's not going to do anything but, put them in the system and as a statistic, unfortunately. But don't recall if I mentioned it, but he was black. People couldn't believe he was my grandfather. That's the thing about, Afro-Dominican, I'm assuming. I've seen some Afro-Dominicans and Afro-Cubans, and yeah, we everywhere.
We
everywhere. But that right there, I mean, that's about as deep I feel like we can go with this right here, man. I mean, is there any last, how you want to close this out, man? Anything you want to say to make some people think?
I guess do your homework, guys. Do your research. Educate yourselves. I mean, again, there's, even though there's things that we know now, it might be things that we didn't know. So you really, if it's just like with your faith, you want to know more about ways to get into heaven, way to live a Christian life, you got to search.
Yeah.
So, if you want to know more about your history, you got to search.
And there are some people who want to know. There are, which is why, like I said, some individuals like around our age are waking up, but the kids are like, they're at that point in life where education is a priority because they're in school. So educating them alongside what they're learning in school, which I think is garbage, honestly. Because the older a person gets, the more set in their ways they become. The more calloused their conscience becomes. The more hard-hearted they become, the more they start to form their ideology. It's hard.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard getting through to some people. Like, we could say this for another subject, another podcast, because I think it's time to have a religious podcast. Like when you're trying to talk to individuals who, like black people, I'll say, who have adopted like Pan-Africanism beliefs and things of that nature. Like, trying to talk to them about Christianity is like, woo, it's hard. It's really hard. But if you come with your facts, you can I'm not saying it's a battle, but you can definitely like make them think,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of them think that white religion, Christianity and stuff like that. I'm like, ooh, we're gonna have a fun time unpacking
Right.
this, because you got that from that person, and that person got that from that person, and that person got that from that person who never did
Mhm.
research a day in their
Yeah.
life. So I always tell people, I think it's in the book of Timothy, where it says, study to show yourself approved on the God. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's another verse in Peter that I'm paraphrasing that says, be ready to have an answer for anybody who asks about
Yep.
your faith. So it's important for believers to study the Bible and study the origins. There's too many people just going to church just to go to church and
Mm-hmm.
can't tell you nothing about anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely something I want to talk about in the future. Mold them young so they can become hard to. There you go. Mold them hard. Excuse me. Mold them young so they can be hard to break. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, that's gonna do it, man. We just hit that 2 hour mark. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like time just flies, of course, when we do these podcasts. Um,
Every time.
every yeah, every time. I mean, you guys and you ladies, y'all get us, after we've been to work and after we've dealt with the world, we all tired and stuff, but these conversations always revamp me and and give me actually excited,
Mm-hmm.
to like continue this, because we folks, we got to continue these type of conversations. Talk to your friends, talk to your family members, talk to, if you feel comfortable, talk to strangers or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, the only way we're gonna see change is if we keep having these discussions.
Right. Right.
You know?
And just to throw this in there, guys, this was actually not our idea for tonight's topic. So we want to give a big shout out to D Sassy um, for this topic. This was
Yep.
something that she sent us right after our last podcast.
Yep.
So, D, thank you so much for giving us this topic to talk about. And if anybody else has a topic that they want to hear from us, if you have us on Twitter, shoot us a message there, or if you got our number, shoot us a text. I mean, we'll or on Discord, either one.
Yeah.
But we
Y'all know
definitely
how to contact us.
oh,
I'm sure.
we're all
Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah, we would love it. Like I said, this was a good topic. And I knew it was gonna be one of those ones we wouldn't have a problem tackling,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, thank you so much. And this is episode 10. We'll come to episode 11. I guess we'll talk about it. Like when,
Yeah.
whether it be over next Friday or the Friday after. Perhaps it may be on Twitch. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see how it would go over on Twitch. I am. I really am.
Yeah.
We shoot, we might have to create a Two Bearded Guys podcast for Twitch, like a whole other channel or something.
Right.
I mean, we'll crawl before we can walk. Maybe he'll broadcast it, or maybe I will. It doesn't matter. But hope everyone has a great night, and we have a safe weekend, and
Yep.
we appreciate the dialogue. Real talk.
Yep. Bearded out.
All right, y'all. Peace. Thank y'all for doing this.